Okay, once again, none other than Tuku the Khan. I have the pleasure of speaking to Reggie Wright Jr. How you doing today, Reggie?
Oh, respect, man. How you doing today, brother?
I've been seeing you've been knocking out the interviews. I mean, that's good. People get the right information instead of the rewrite of information that they've been getting through other sources.
That's my attempt. You know, I go and try to be putting stuff out there and just correcting things. And I'm like Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley says sometimes you got to say stuff 2 or 3 times for people to comprehend it.
Right.
And so I don't mind repeating myself and saying it because I know a lot of times people don't comprehend it. Goes over some people's head. And then a lot of times we just miss it. And unfortunately, in the day and age we living in, people believe the last thing that goes through their ears.
That's true.
And they take it as factual. And so
now I want to see if you could clear up some things. I don't think I heard you speak on any of these, but I seen Corrupt has done interviews, and he shows his allegiance towards Snoop Dogg, but it makes me think back to, and a lot of people don't really consider this. It was once upon a time an interview with Corrupt, Suge, and Left Eye on 106 in Park. And at that particular time, he came back to Death Row or The Row. What transpired where, I guess he had dropped his allegiance and came back with Suge at that time?
Well, it wasn't so much he dropped his allegiance. That's the way they took it. And that's why Daz pretty much went at him kind of hard and stuff like that. But Corrupt was doing his own thing. And you remember when he did the song on the Oz? Y'all remember that show, the Oz?
Yeah, I remember Oz. Yep.
I've been watching reruns of that lately over on Netflix or something. And he had put in Suge in that song because we all call him Simon. Well, they call him Simon. I still call him Suge.
Right. But
they called him Simon, and like that's what Simon said. And he threw that little shout out, the Suge in that song and all of that. But what had happened was we had got a big judgment against us for life. It ended up being a good way. It was $10 million, but it got dropped down to $4 million. And Corrupt was at a radio station in L.A. right down the street from Death Row headquarters. And it shook me and a couple of the homies up to this radio station to tell Corrupt he wasn't seen. Went and got him. Corrupt was cool. And I think Eastwood and a couple of other dudes was with Corrupt. And we took him up to the back to the office, and Corrupt came there. And Suge was just pretty much, man, man, for that judgment that I got, and I had to pay out $4 million. You gotta make it right. And Corrupt was like, yeah, anything, Suge. You want me to do a couple of albums for you to try to get some of the money back or whatever.
Right.
And that's why I always say Corrupt always keep it 100. Even on the interviews that he gives currently, Corrupt keeps it 100. Corrupt only had one skeleton in his closet. And other than that skeleton, Corrupt been 100.
Okay. Now at that particular time, because I remember it was a big thing when the group TLC, when they said, they went bankrupt and everything, but once Left Eye got with Death Row and Suge, did she get better points once she got over with Suge versus where she was at originally?
They were working it out. By then, it was a guy by the name of Steve Stouts that was in control of the label where she was at.
Okay.
And Steve Stouts was doing stuff then. And so she really didn't like Steve Stouts too much. And we had some conversations with Steve Stouts where he was trying to get things worked out, and they were getting worked out. But you got to remember, Left Eye was only around us for 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
Before she died. And she wasn't too happy with the girls, with the group.
Right.
And even though they were trying to work and get back together and stuff like that, I saw an interview with somebody said that they were trying to come over to Death Row and all that. Now, they wasn't cool like that. I think Andre Rison said that recently. But they were communicating with each other and trying to do stuff to make money. But they had a little rocky relationship. But she was mainly working on a solo album as a rapper and calling herself Nina.
Yeah.
Nina at the time. Like something for like a 9mm gun or something like that, because she could rap, spit out like a 9mm a female version of a 9mm
Okay.
gun, and she came up with the name Nina as a rap name. And so that's what they were trying to launch. She had never did no paperwork with Afro or anything like that because she was still signed to LaFace Arista.
Okay.
At the time.
Now, that's one thing I never heard. I mean, I always heard from maybe their side, but how does a group go bankrupt, but the ones managing you or, that are on your record label, they're untouched? I don't understand that.
Well, generally because they the last ones to get paid. And what happens on that is because they usually get everything up front. They get all the perks, the studio time, the nice videos, riding in a limo, the wardrobe. So all of that, unfortunately, gets billed back to the artist by the record label.
Right.
And so they get all of that glorified stuff that they be getting and you be seeing. They eventually got to pay for that.
Right.
So that's why most artists look at it, okay, let's use these people money to blow us up and market and stuff and do all of that. And then we'll go on the road. And we'll make our money from the writer side, the publishing, and from doing shows.
Right.
And that's pretty much how they mostly get paid, and then get other endeavors, but hopefully you kept your rights for your marketing of your name and all of that, and you can go make money, selling T-shirts and stuff like that at the concerts and at the shows. And quite frankly, that's pretty much where they all make their money at. I did an interview recently where Snoop even admitted that you're lucky if you can make $1 a record. He was saying how Michael Jackson didn't even make $1 a record. And I was about to say, yeah, nigga, I've been trying to tell you that. And so when you only sell 5 million records and you got a $4.5 million judgment you got to pay off, that's your whole record. But that goes over a lot of people's head. But generally, to be honest, an artist generally only makes their money off of the publishings, and, their mechanical writings, and off of doing shows. That's generally when they, only have to pay about 10 or 20% to the managers, and whatever cost they have to do for the production. You see how my girl Bay just went over there out of the country and got $26 million plus her fees to perform there.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
That's how they make their money, y'all.
Now tell me this: what makes a sellout artist versus like a crossover artist? Like, what's the line of that? Like, they start off as something originally, and then like they metamorphosize into something that people probably don't remember them as. Example, like a lot of people thought when they seen that California Girls, they were like, well, Stoop seems like he's a sellout with that because he's wearing a candy suit and all this kind of stuff versus, when he first originally started, it wasn't nothing like that.
Yeah, that's when you start getting money. You start getting money, you kind of change.
Okay.
Your environment starts changing and stuff like that. You get away from the dudes that walking around drinking 40 ounces of khakis and you start hanging around people that drinking Cristal and all of that.
Right.
Where your homeboys, we heard about it, but they only know about Hennessy and 40s.
True.
So I'm saying all that to say, what usually happens is, unfortunately, your environment changes. And sometimes that's called for, but it's kind of hard to stay grounded when you're down a millionaire and your homeboys, unfortunately working it and, only making a couple of thousand a month.
Okay.
And, that's why I love what LeBron James did, where he just said, hey, I deal with these 4 or 5 of them. These are my 4 or 5 homeboys.
Right.
And surrounded himself with them and put them in good positions where they can make their money. And so this is all you deal with. It's unfortunately when people think that you're supposed to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
You can't do it, but you're broke trying to do that. You got to hit and miss on stuff like that.
Right.
I can't take care of you all the time, but every now and then I can sit here and look out. But when you start depending on me to look out for you all the time, I can only do so many people like that.
Right.
And that's where... Now, on the music side of a sellout, how people always have that first album and bang, and you be like, damn, And then that sophomore album, we call it, the second album comes out.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, that wasn't that good. That's because now people get opinion.
Right.
And they start listening to those A&Rs. And now the music executives come and say, you should do this, you should do that. Where you were doing the things and that way you didn't do what you know, listening to, or you wasn't going to the clubs listening to what made people shake their ass or riding in the car, because now you're different. Now you're isolated.
Right.
And that's what I always have found out with people once they get their second or third album. And then people be like, and then they realize that, be like, I got to go back to, you know, the people I was hanging around or the mentality I was on my first album when I hit.
Now, do you think people, maybe when you get to a certain level, you could just do anything because like you've been around so long, so it's like it doesn't really matter? When I'm saying this is Smokey Robinson. He did that song called Gangbanging. Everybody clowns him for that because it's like you come back from the doo-wop days and you're making a song talking about gangbanging. Like, what is that?
Well, that's really because your record executive or the A&R people are trying to tell you, you need to go to this type of person, or you need to try to do stuff this way.
Right.
That's why I said everybody have a motherfucking opinion. Instead of you just stand down to yourself and be like, no, I'm going to be right here. I'm going to stay right here. And this is how I'm going to always be.
Right.
That's how you want to be. But unfortunately, I'm not even saying you should be. Because that's when people get mad and be like, nigga, you making all this money, nigga, you can't be coming in the ghetto or hanging in the ghetto or hanging around these type of people.
Right.
And you know, and you got all this type of money. That ain't smart. Why did you do that?
Right.
So it's a catch-22. You know, but generally you lose that street or that ear to the streets when you become, you know, you learn stuff in Compton differently than you learn in Beverly Hills. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not saying one is better than the other or one is worse. You just have different things that's in your ear.
Right.
You have different type of stuff. When I go to Beverly Hills, I want to go to, you know, not PF chain, well, you know, I want to go eat noodles and with chicken and shrimp in it. When I'm in the hood, I go and get chili cheese fries or chili cheeseburgers or fried rice, you know?
Right.
It's just, I'm not saying one is better than the other one. Well, some will say health-wise it is. But leave that greasy stuff alone. But we grew up on it, right?
Right.
You grew up on it all your life. Now you don't want to eat it. Now it's bad for you because you've been exposed to something else.
Right.
So I think that's what happened, you know, just in life.
Okay. Now this is one I seen a different channel. I won't say the channel's name, but they touched on it, but it was only them talking in the one person side of it. I would think you would know better to cover this. How did Lifetime avoid copyright claims in that Surviving R. Kelly documentary if he didn't willingly sign off for them to use his likeness or music?
Oh, well, that's why Suge's in jail right now. He felt that they were portraying him a lot in that show, and he didn't have any rights to it. That's why he was up there pushing up on Ice Cube and Dre and them at that set. What you have is what you call documentaries, which are supposed to be accurate.
Right.
And then that's when they always put that advisory that this is based on, you know, that's what 50 Cent doing all of his power shows with BMF and all of that. And this is based on something, you know, but some of the characters and some of the parts has changed. And so you do that as long as you're not calling it the official story. You know, you got stories out on Whitney and all of that.
Right.
That other people did, but that wasn't done by their state or the family or stuff like that. So you can do that once you become what they call a celebrity status or something like that. You don't have to have authorization for people to portray like you, unless then you call it a documentary, and then you're trying to put it out as like factual. So that's the difference between a documentary or a biop or a movie or whatever.
Okay.
You got to look at that. But most of the things that are out there that's not considered documentaries, is they have a disclaimer in there that some of the names or the information has been slightly exchanged to protect the innocent or something like that. They usually say.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know that's the myth that a lot of people think that you can't use your likeliness, but you can.
Right. Because it just kind of brought to me, because I remember early on when I started YouTube, I ran a clip of Under the Cherry Moon, and it wasn't like any music per se. It was just like maybe the score and, you know, a scene with Prince. But that's when Prince was alive. So YouTube sent me a claim saying, we'll knock your whole channel down if you don't take this down, essentially.
Yeah. And what happens on that, because you just wasn't reacting. It's a little flicks of days where people get away with it, where you can play something, but you got to react to it. Then
Okay.
YouTube don't deal with it. But if you just use somebody else's content, and I hate those people, like Top Media is okay, but the dude from Discretion TV and this food, I call him the groupie and his channel and all of them.
Right.
They'll go and take right word for word what you said and put it up, and then they'll say that they the one that created it. Well, they know they ain't the one that created it. But YouTube, once you do that, they only take it down for 10 days. And then they would, after 10 days, they'll send you a letter and say, if you want this to continue to be down or whatever, you have to take this to court. And most people are too lazy or just don't care enough to take it to court.
Right.
And so you can always put something back up, you know, but you can eventually lose your channel if you know, there's a lot of people out there that you just go file something and you know, I could have Aldi Dude's channel because they always using my content and stuff like that. If I just filed the paperwork for them to go to court, their channel would be gone after 3 times. But most people don't want to spend that time and that effort because, you know, just to file something in federal court costs $500 to $700. And most people just don't have the effort or the knowledge to do that.
Right.
But a couple of people this year are going to learn. They're going to get a little spanking real soon. Yeah. And then they're going to be crying and wishing that they wouldn't have played the games that they be playing.
Right. I was saying, like, when we were talking about how Suge started 662 and then later on, you know, you see Jay-Z come with Club 4040. I'm saying they were watching it was like Death Row was the architect. And then, okay, we'll do this ourselves, our version. So what I'm saying that is when Pac and Snoop had Two of America's Most Wanted, the single, I'm saying that was big because they both had cases at that time. But come later down in years, R. Kelly has a case and Jay-Z was fighting that stabbing case and they came with the best of both worlds, them albums. I'm saying it's like, okay, they did it on a song. We'll do it with albums, with people that are facing, you know, that are in the media light.
Yeah, some people take it. I had a conversation with Vlad from Vlad TV about that recently. And he was kind of disappointed with people using the way he does interviews and all of that. And I say, you know, Vlad, I look at it as another way. And I look at it as a compliment. I think when people, you know, we go all the way back to the Death Row. Death Row was the first label around their necks. You know, Ron DMC and all of them wore big gold chains, but nobody ever put their label on their neck.
Right.
There were like Solar Records or Total Experience and people like that should learn the club stuff from. You know, Dick Griffey and the dude that owned my boy Charlie Wilson label, Total Experience. They had record companies and they also had nightclubs out here. Okay. So that's more business. But yeah, I take stuff like that as a compliment and more so of hating or are you stealing my ideals? Now, you know, in the business world, that's called trademarking and all of that. Yeah. And so you can have problems with that. But I take more stuff like that as a compliment versus, you know, they have patent laws and stuff like that. You know, when companies go after you and stuff like that. But yeah, I would look at it more as a compliment. But some people will take that. And that's what you're supposed to be here for. That's what we're supposed to be here for, to help people, and they take it to a better level. Right. So, guess I'm just not so much of a hater as people may say or think I am.
Yeah.
Because I take that as a compliment.
Right. It's just so much that people should recognize, like, this is where it kind of maybe originated from.
Where I got my ideal from.
Right, right. Like playing homage or whatever. Now, I was going to say, I remember we talked and, you know, I seen the thing where, you know, that hashtag came up saying Reggie wrong. But I was saying, I was thinking maybe they were quick to say that because I want to say we mentioned so many albums that he was on profile, but, you know, going back to check, 2 of those albums that he did that were on Arista, Balance and Options and Rhythmism. Those 2 were on Arista, I guess, after Profile, you know, went under, essentially.
Went under.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Arista purchased Profile.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully, I don't know. I know he done got a clip somewhere where he got upset slightly. I might have went in a little bit too harder on him than what I probably should, because in one breath, if you read the tweet that DJ Quick put out there, he was kind of, you know, by saying the name wrong. But in the second breath, I like what he said.
Right.
You know, so maybe I might have read into it wrong, but he hasn't responded. He hasn't said anything, so he got the message. Okay. That's all I do. I send messages.
Now this is kind of not so much a part 2, but a follow up to I guess the same person. Now 2000 source of words. I know you remember this when I think he was dressed in all white. We're talking about or I'm speaking of
when he got dragged by the police.
Yes. Was the officers just following protocol when that happened?
I think it was really with security though that he had initially got into it with. He wasn't with us. That was a separate occasion. Right. He wasn't with Death Row. He was long gone by then. I think it was just it was really with security. You know, police officers don't really work at the doors and all of that.
Because it looked like they had the vest. I rewatched the video. It looked like they had vests that said police on it. It didn't say security.
Okay, it could have been. So they might have got into it. But initially, who he got into it was with the security at the event. Okay. And then Pasadena. It was Pasadena PD because that happened in the city of Pasadena, where the Rose Bowl is. Yeah. They're the one that got into it, and I know they did, you know, drag him away and took him to jail with that incident. Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those that believe in comply. Tell you I'm big on yes sir, no sir, we'll deal with your cracker ass or whatever later. But when you get out there and start talking and loud talking and doing this, cops are trained that when they get called, you're problem solvers. And you can't go there and just be passive and just stand around and be letting people talk crazy to you and all that. You're supposed to be the problem solver. Right. So if you're a problem solver, you take that problem away from whatever's been disruptive, and then you talk about it or work it out. When cooler heads prevail. Deep youth and people today don't believe in that anymore. They believe in, no, we're going to debate this and we're going to act the fool right here. I catch a lot of heat for it. You know, I know some other things that came out with that Tyreek situation, which is a sad thing and all of that. But if he would have just stood there and was like, yes, sir, no, sir, I think the man wouldn't have died that way.
That's what I was gonna ask you something about that. I don't know if you heard this part, but they said that essentially the other part.
I don't believe that. That it came out. I don't believe half shit I hear just on YouTube. You got to get that from law enforcement or people investigating and saying that. That's just people talking, and all that I ever heard that came out from that, and that's what people got to put out there when they said that, is that the man sent a text to his wife and said, "Look what happened to one of your co-workers." Okay. Does that mean that I beat up your boyfriend? No, I'm not saying that it's not possible. Right. But until that is said, you're right. We can't run with that. And that comes all over YouTube. Well, I'm gonna get 6 of my homeboys to come and beat you up behind a boyfriend
Mm.
because you messing with somebody. If that turns out to be accurate, which I don't believe,
Right,
and there's
right.
no evidence of that,
Right.
other than being on YouTube,
Right.
and then they the stupidest people in the world. Well, they still stupid for what they did after the handcuffs got put on.
Right.
But they're even stupider, and then they should get the death penalty. It should be a murder one, not a murder two.
Yeah, because that changes it almost like premeditated.
Correct. And so until that comes out, I'm not buying into that.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of people will listen to this and be turned off and all of that. And unfortunately, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, that unfortunately the last thing that people hear is what they believe. And if it was some truth to it, trust me, the police, the DA, and the family will be beating the drum on that. But nobody's beating that drum but YouTubers and whoever leaked it, to CNN or whatever that said that this happened. But as I always heard it from CNN and all that, it was just that it was a picture sent to his ex-wife or girlfriend.
Yeah.
Saying, isn't this one of your co-workers? Look what happened to him. And unfortunately, people do stupid stuff like that. We know that. Well, people did that with Kobe Bryant. That's why they got a big lawsuit.
Yeah.
Where they started texting among their friends and stuff.
Yeah.
I got texts from cop friends with dead bodies laying. People does that. I'm not saying it's right. That happens. If you saw a dead body laying down, you break out your phone. That's just the era we in now.
Yeah, I be seeing how those youngsters be doing that all the time. Like, be at a funeral and take a picture of the casket going right down into the ground. Like, God damn.
Yeah. So, when we were growing up, we had big old VHS camcorders.
Right. Right.
So, it was hard for us to get stuff on camera.
They're for real.
The youngsters now, it's right in your pocket. You walk around with a good, high-quality camcorder.
That's ready to upload anything to the internet instantly. Shoot.
Exactly. So, now, that's why I don't understand why cops ain't learned this and why they don't harp on this or teach us more to say, hey, stupid, there's camcorders. Your son has one at home. My 4 and 5 year old grandsons know how to work TikTok and all that stuff. They know how to film stuff. So anybody 7 years old or above is able to film you at any time.
Right.
Think of that. We got cameras in the eye in the sky all over.
For real.
Remember that. You never know when a helicopter news cameras flying around.
The one that just recently got me with that what they say, that air balloon, that Chinese air balloon flying around in Montana.
Well, they say that's spy shit.
Right.
Yeah. And I think China admitted it was there. China